Hello Earthlings of YouTube. My voice has made a semi-triumphant return, so I thought I'd do a review on a figure that I've already reviewed. It wasn't the greatest, so I took it down, but this time I have a script, so hopefully it won't be quite so bad. So this is the video review of Earthrise Optimus Prime, also technically Kingdom, they're the exact same figure, and this is the second G1 style Voyager Optimus Prime in one trilogy. I feel very sorry for those who bought the Siege Optimus Prime because of how close it was to the G1, only to find out that this figure was coming afterwards. This is my second figure from the trilogy. I missed out on most of Siege due to mainly collecting the smaller Legend scale, and I did also skip on Earthrise quite a lot because I had heard about the quality control issues, and also I'm not too big of a fan on some of the designs. They are G1 accurate, but they're also kind of lazy. They didn't really try and innovate anything. They didn't try to change bits up. It was just a bit of a slob, really. But I can safely say that this figure does not suffer from quality control issues and lazy designs. Mostly. Yeah, I'll get into that in a minute. Now, on to vehicle mode. This is a fairly faithful interpretation of G1 Prime. What a shocker. What is amazing though is just how far the designers went in retooling Siege Prime. However, they were quite lazy in the leg department. The extent of the upper torso design and kibble management, this is quite understandable, although what isn't understandable is the price. This is a Voyager at the leader price point. I know this has already been talked to death by almost everyone, so I'm not going to go too far into it, but why? If it's just for the trailer's sake, then when we compare the original price of Siege to Earthrise, this is just a crappy £15 box on wheels that's stupidly thin. It has a broken sculpture at the back due to the shield gimmick. I could swallow the pill if the budget was put somewhere else, like decent paint, as this stuff chips worse than MP36 Megatron, the first outing. The second one apparently had better paint. Or maybe putting some more effort into the leg transformation. Was there really no way of folding the wheels into the legs and have it, be a bit more of an involved conversion? Gone are the cool Siege flip me around leg design. Apart from the numerous flaws dragging this figure down, the rest is actually a really good solid Prime, is what I would love to say. There have been many reports of not all of the wheels being flat to the floor, which I have an issue with. The knee flap things left over from Siege don't like to tab into the bottom of the arms and look horrible in both modes. I also suffer from that. And the legs themselves don't want to tab into each other, which is a prominent problem with my copy, which is also another reason on why the wheels don't stay flat to the floor. Although Prime's head can flip out onto the roof for better visibility when driving. At least there's some upside. Now, as for vehicle mode weapon storage, the ion cannon can fold up and be plugged into the bed of the truck, in his back, under the trailer, or probably the best way, and the way that I always put it, actually in the trailer. Oh, and the stupid ports on the forearms totally break the decent sculpt. Still, the grille has been picked out in pretty durable silver paint, so have the gas cans and the stripe going around vehicle mode, which has been swapped from white on the Siege figure, which honestly I would have preferred white stripe. I don't know. The silver does look nice, but I think I'd have preferred the white. Oh, and somehow the smokestacks are the only silver parts that have been chipped in vehicle mode, yet they don't come into contact with anything during the transformation. More on paint issues later. And now, obligatory trailer functionality, which is nowhere near as good as the MP10, because the trailer is actually quite small. Forget about it fitting a deluxe car bot in there. Best I can do is a Legend scale. Take it or leave it. Also, how come the upcoming Rodimus Prime can easily fit a deluxe class, such as Hot Rod, who has a very big rear wingspan, so you give the functionality to Rodimus, but not Prime? Okie dokie, Hasbro, you do you. Right, robot mode. It's G1 Prime, again. Roll credits. Anyway, serious aside, the robot mode looks good. Not the best, just good. But there is also optional parts forming that just makes it look so much better, and it also unlocks a higher level of articulation in the waist. This has had to have been intentional as it attaches and detaches with such little effort. Now, as for the sculpting, whilst it is nowhere near as noticeable or as rich as Siege, it is still very, very beautiful. It just adds to the quality of this mode. Shame the yellow paint on the skirts have been chipped off during transformation, and the silver between the eyes on the Siege figure was skipped, yet it has a higher budget. Maybe don't include a trailer. So much easier. And as also previously mentioned, the white was traded out for a silver stripe, seeing as how the abdomen is a faux part. They could have easily fixed this for a higher robot mode accuracy, even if they had kept the vehicle mode stripe silver. But it doesn't even go all the way around the sides, it just stops part way around, so it's a bit of a letdown really. Also, the legs have some slight colour discrepancies on the inside because, they're grey instead of blue. This is something that was fixed on the Takara version, albeit in a much darker colour. Also, why do they cast the back of Prime's head in a different colour, then paint over it? It looks so bad as one half is metallic and the other side isn't. It also chips off really easily. It's the exact same mould as the Siege version, so I don't understand how they could have messed it up so badly. If they had just cast it in the blue, they could have saved that paint budget to paint the silver in between the eyes and make it pop so much better. Right, on to some positives. Prime's articulation is stellar. He has a ball-jointed head, universal shoulders, bicep rotation, an elbow bend, wrist rotation, and get this, opening fingers. Shame they don't look the greatest when opened, but it still allows him to hold his included matrix like an ID. Definitely didn't steal that from another British chap on the platform. Waist rotation, universal hips, slightly limited going backwards unfortunately. There is thigh rotation, a single knee joint somehow achieving a higher level of posability than most double jointed legs, and in a typical War for Cybertron fashion, he has an ankle rocker. These ankles are great. They have little gap fillers to make it look connected when tilted. I just wish they were a bit more substantial, as if they are rocked too far, it still breaks the sculpt entirely. If it were attached to the feet instead of the shins, it could have been extended and curved inwards. Also, people saying his proportions are wrong. I see where you're coming from, but in all honesty, I actually don't mind it due to the transformation, which is possibly one of the best things going for this figure. Although I must admit, the torso is a bit too squished down and small. And last but not least, his accessories. Prime's windows open to reveal an obligatory matrix of leadership. This has a decent sculpt with nicely painted accents, and a good old piece of light piping for the middle. I just wish it wasn't hollow, but oh well. After you've taken the matrix out of Prime's chest, you expect to see a flat, boring grey cavity. But no, the matrix casing has actually been exquisitely sculpted and painted. This alone has to be one of my favourite parts about this figure due to how much care and attention was put into the spot, even though you're probably never really going to see this part of Prime. Oh, and he also comes with a squished, chubby interpretation of Zion Blaster, which is meh. For a toy line committed to G1 accuracy, this is a bit of a strange change from their oh-so-precious source material, aka the dumb Sunbow chart. There is a reason why this Prime looks the way he does. It'll be explained later. Overall, this figure is quite good. However, now that I've seen the prototypes for New Age Optimus Prime / Armorless Ultra Magnus, I kinda wish I'd held out on this figure and waited for that one, but it is quite nice having a good chug scale Autobot leader in my collection, because god damn the Last Night figure is trash. And yes, I have modified him as stated above, and I have started to do a quick custom paint job to give him a G1 colour scheme. Excuse the Sharpie, that's there for a quick plan of what to do when I start painting the arms and legs. And yes, I know the thighs are meant to be white, that will be fixed on the final rendition. I would say pick this figure up, especially now that it has been released in Kingdom, if you want a G1 style Optimus Prime with a trailer, but only if you're comfortable with the overpriced costs and lackluster quality control. As far as I've heard, there seem to be no real issues with the re-release, so I'd probably go with that version. But if you don't mind extra kibble and no trailer, I'd probably go with the Siege version. I avoided it purely because it wasn't quite right, but now that we have got this Earthrise one, I must admit, I did prefer the Siege, and I wish I got that instead. There is also the upcoming New Age one. If you want to be trapped in a bottomless pit of third-party legends collecting forever, you have been warned, something that I, unfortunately, was not. If you guys have any further thoughts on this figure, do let me know down in the comments, and tell me what you think of my voice returning. And until next time, have a good Mega Cycle.